Hey guys, welcome back to One House Pub. Well, had kind of a request from a subscriber, a guy named Prana120, for help on how to flip a Hinderer. I referred him to my video, earlier video that I did, I don't know, a couple, 2-3 months ago or whenever it was, on how to properly flip an XM-18, Hinderer XM-18. But he's got a brand new one, and sometimes when they're brand new, they can be a little stiff and difficult to, kind of get the action going. Hinderers definitely break in, and I thought might be beneficial if I just kind of took a brand new one and showed you the kind of the process that I go through to start the process of breaking it in, getting it set just right and whatever. And right here, I'm coming at you from a little different view tonight. I've got everything laid out here on the bar top here. Right here, this guy right here is actually a brand new Hinderer that I just got today. It's a 4th generation with S35 VN, and it's brand new, not just to me, but it's brand new. I actually got it from a Hinderer collector guy, on the forums as well, who has quite the impressive Hinderer collection, mostly customs anymore. I think this might have been the last production knife that he had, and I bought it from him. He got it at a show, and in a lottery at a show, and he said, and I believe him. I've known the guy online for a little while now, and I have every reason to believe him that not only had he never cut anything with it, he'd never even carried it. It had never been in his pocket. He just got it, and it's just been in pristine state since then. So I bought it from him. So it's brand new. It's never been cut with, never been carried. Well, today I carried it some, so I guess I broke it in a little bit right there by putting it in the pocket, but I have not cut anything with it at all either, and it's never been apart or anything. So I'm going to take it apart here in front of you guys. I'm actually going to install some bronze anodized titanium backspacers. I'll clean the pivot up, good. I'll oil it up with my Daiwa reel oil, which I've really come to prefer now. I know I did a lubrication video a few days ago, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, where I'd taken my Hinderers and I'd put the fluorinated grease in them. But I've taken that back all out of them, and I've gone back to the Daiwa. I just think, ultimately, I think it's just a little bit better, at least for the Hinderers. I've left it in my Sabenza. It definitely works. I've left the grease in my Sabenza. I definitely find that works great in there. But the Hinderers like the oil. It's a little lighter viscosity, I think, with the Teflon washers and whatnot. I think the oil just works better in the long run. So I will be oiling it up, and I just thought I would kind of walk through the process here, and I'm just going to do this in front of the camera, so whatever works, works. What it does, whatever doesn't. It doesn't flip terribly bad at the moment, frankly. If to be honest with you, it's not too bad, and that's, I've flipped it, honestly, probably a couple, dozen times today, or more than that. Okay, maybe 100 times today. Definitely had it out and played with it some, but it's still way early on in the break-in process, and it's not as easy a flipper as this guy by any stretch. This thing just flies out. This is a 3rd generation, and it's probably, I don't know, I had to guess, 2-3 years old, and it's very well broken in. And I'd like to get this one to as close as I can to this state. Now, I won't get there tonight. It'll take a few days of playing with it, or maybe even a couple, 2-3 weeks of playing with it to really break it in good. But it could be a little better than it is now. And again, it's not terrible, but it could be a little better than it is now. And it may be. I'll try it left-handed here. Yeah, pretty tough to do left-handed. There we go. Definitely don't have the left-handed skill. To show you how much nicer this knife is, no problem lefty with this guy. So it can definitely use a little extra. Oh yeah, and just to show you, my little 3-inch here with the grayscale that I traded for it. Really like this a lot better. I get rid of the orange that I had on it. Traded it to a guy online, and very much prefer the gray. And this little 3-inch, when I first got this, if you refer back to my initial videos with this guy, was having a harder time figuring out how to get this thing flipped. But I got it all cleaned up and have got this thing working good. I could even probably do that one almost left-handed. There we go. So just to give you an idea. So they definitely, you know, people say the 3 inches don't flip well, and they definitely, because they're smaller, you have to kind of compact your technique a little bit, but they do. All right, so let's just get these guys out of here for now. Let's focus on the new guy. All right, let me just check to make sure everything's rolling here on the camera good. All right, looks like we're still going good. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is take apart the actual knife itself, and I'm going to do this with a 5/64 inch hex nut here, or hex driver. I used to have the Hinderer tool, and this is a nice little magnetic. It doesn't really hold those very well though, unfortunately, but this is aluminum and this is titanium. There's a penny, so they don't hold well in here. But this is a nice little magnetic tray that I have for doing stuff like this. These particular little screws don't have much to them, so they don't get a whole lot of hold to them in here. But I do like to put them in. There you go. Put them in the same order. I like to take the screws out and put them back in the same order, you know, and just to replace them with where they came out of. Just seems a smarter thing to do to me. There we go. Get it in the middle there where there's a little bit more of a magnet. That holds a little better. It's kind of nice having the magnetic duo there. All right, now to remove the pivot, I've actually got this. This is it's both a Hinderer and a Strider spanner tool made by Smoke Eater 908. It's the aluminum one. And I used to have the Hinderer tool. I just recently sold it, and it's a great tool. If you guys have Hinderers, absolutely buy the tool. It makes the breakdown a lot easier. But I happen to have a lot of other little, you know, doodads that I've collected over the course of time, so I don't really need it. And those things can, you know, command a pretty good little piece of money. So I went ahead and sold it, and especially now when I got this new Strider, having this, you know, it be a dual tool. Yeah, is beneficial. So I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and sell off the Hinderer Armors tool. But it's a spanner. It just works. You just set it right in there to you know, catch the span here. And I will use my very technical penny to as a wrench here. It opens up. It's a 1993 penny. Not that that matters, but, and we're just going to hold the spanner there and unscrew our pivot here. And it may be Loctited. Sometimes they'll Loctite these from the factory. Sometimes they don't. And this one feels like maybe it is a little bit. It's pretty tight. Ooh, pretty tight indeed. May have to pull this off camera here, guys. Hold on if I can get this going here. It's harder to hold that out in front of me and do that away from the body. Yeah, this one's definitely been Loctited down. So that always is a little bit of a challenge. And being a little, I'll just go ahead and remove my stuff that's falling out here while I'm doing that. I guess I'll pull the existing stainless steel backspacers out and the little barrels that the screws go into. So that's the middle one. That's that one. Again, I just like to keep them in order. For whatever reason, it's more my OCD than anything else, probably. There's another backspacer, or standoff, excuse me, not backspacer, but standoffs. Alright, those in their correct order. Now back to this pesky pivot. He is a beast. He has definitely been Loctited in there pretty well. So I may have to pull out some heavy duty hardware here if I got it. Oh, I don't have it on me at the moment. Well, that's a bummer. Alright, we'll have to make do. Again, I'll probably just pull this off of camera here so I can get this up next to my body and be a little bit more successful with this. Yeah, definitely been Loctited. Which isn't all bad. Sometimes Hinderers can have kind of a looser pivot and they'll want to back out on you anyway, and you'll end up putting, you know, blue Loctite in. You see I've got some blue Loctite sitting here in case I need it. I probably won't know if I need it tonight, frankly, because I'll set this back up and then we'll figure it out from there, and over the next day or so as I play with it and flip it, I'll probably discover if it needs Loctite or not. And I apologize for this, the length of this video. It is no doubt going to be long because first time you break a knife down, you just don't, even if it's a knife you're familiar with, and I've taken Hinderers down many times, you just don't know how any given one is going to treat you. If I was taking down one of these other guys, if I was breaking this guy down, I'd have it apart, cleaned up, and be probably in the process of putting it back together already, because he's pretty easy. That's always been, that particular one has always just been a gem, and just goes back, comes apart, goes back together, really great. But yeah, this one is Loctited to death, so apologize for the amount of time this has taken me. Got it past the span now. I almost have to just get a screwdriver and use that instead of the spanner tool because they are kind of a challenge to hang on to. I will admit, as much as I love Hinderers, and I do, this particular proprietary part of the pivot is not my favorite thing. I get the reason for it and all that, but it's kind of, it can be kind of challenging. And this one, oh my gosh, it's like a major challenge. I'm a little shocked at how hard this one is to get apart. I've never had one figures, you know, you go to videotape something or you go put the camera on something and it's the hardest one ever. This is my 9th Hinderer. I've had them all apart multiple times. Well, except for this one, I guess I've had the other 8 all apart multiple times. And never, even when I've Loctited the pivots, have I had one treat me like this. So, go figure. Well, it is just absolutely being a challenge. And frankly, I wish I could just, oh, maybe we got, nah, we're getting some action. Wow, it's going to go back together like a pain in the butt too, I can tell you that. All right, I'm getting some action on it now. Makes me wish maybe I shouldn't have gotten rid of that Hinderer tool before I did this. I should have at least waited till after I filmed this, huh? Oh well. We're getting it now, so we'll get this thing apart. And we will see what we got. All right. There's our OD Green G10 scale. There's our liner. There's our blade. Obviously, the small washer goes against the TI side, and the big washer goes against the liner side. So we'll just pull all this off, lay it all out here, and see. Well, there's the pivot, and yeah, it's full. It's not even blue Loctites. That was serious there. They were not joking around. Okay. Alright, so there's the whole knife disassembled. Let me see where I'm at time-wise here. Okay. Let's just do it. Okay, so here's the whole knife disassembled. First thing I will do is clean this thing up. With the factory, it comes with very little lubrication in it. They put like a little, you know, almost like a, it's kind of slightly brown colored, very tiny little bit of lubrication on here. And I really like something a little bit more than that. So I'm just going to use a little Windex here, clean this guy off. Sorry, do this in front of the camera for you, I guess. Doesn't hurt. Just clean that area, clean the liner, just get all that stuff off of there, and we can start with a nice fresh. The blade also, we can start with a nice fresh bit of Daiwa real oil. Get this thing put back together nice. So there's the blade, by the way, in case you're curious. That's the Spanto 3.5 inch. And it's the 4th gen blade. You can tell by the way this is cut. 3rd gens, which this is the 3rd gen, you can see this or not. Because the stop pin is back here, the blade itself, back here near the top of the tang, is actually different. 4th gen has this cutout to accommodate the location change of the stop pin in the 4th gen, which is right there. Alright, so now the knife's apart. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to wipe this whole frame down because there's some other of that brown lube, whatever it is they use. I'm not sure what it is. Not real fond of it because I think it makes them stiffer than they need to be. But maybe I'm just not patient. Maybe it would break in really well. I don't know. But we'll go ahead and accelerate the process. Alright. Nice little needle point applicator. And all you really have to do here, or at least all I do, frankly, I probably overlube these things. I probably don't need to get some, that's dry. Probably put way more of this on than I really need to, but that's okay. What I do is I just take and I just draw a little circle around the pivot area. That's it. That's actually a lot. That didn't really mean to quite get that much in there. That's okay. Stick the pivot screw back up under here before I get too much further. Alright, so I do that. Now I'm going to the small, just clean this up too. It's always a good idea to clean your washers good too, because they have a little, whatever residue of the previous lubricants on there can bind up, I found, with the Daiwa for whatever reason. So I just like get them good and clean. Just slide him over the top. A bit of a reassembly here, no big deal. Now I'm going to take, I'm going to put the blade on. I'm going to actually do the same here. I'm going to put a little bit of oil around, just draw a circle around the, like that. That's all it takes, and that's actually a better representation of what you put on than that. I put way too much on the bottom, but it's okay. Oops, keep my pivot in that. I thought it felt like it stuck in there pretty good. I'm sorry. Pivot screw just popped out. Back in there. There we go. Or not. Well, it acts like it grabs and I put it in there. It feels snug, but then as soon as I start to move on it, it pops out. Alright, so now I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to set the blade on top of the screw. Easier said than done. And then set it up against the lock so it actually locks the knife open. It's a lot better than trying to build this thing closed. That's a real pain in the butt. So do that, keep the knife, locked open like so. Make sure your stop pin up here hasn't fallen out. Now we're just going to go about drawing our little lube, little oil circle here again around this side. And I'll clean this guy up here. This one's not going to be the most action-packed video. There's a lot of kind of dead time in taking that pivot apart. It took me a long time. Longer than I certainly planned, but that's okay. This is a true representation of how this goes or doesn't go. Alright, so Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and put my barrels back in. And sometimes it just depends on the knife. Sometimes these will kind of stick in there pretty good and they'll kind of almost snap in. Other times they're looser, like that one's going to be, this one's going to be looser. So, and you know, anytime that they're kind of loose like that, it's always a challenge because then you kind of got to hold them in and make sure that, you know, they don't go sliding down and falling out all the time like that. I'm going to go ahead and put the official Hinderer titanium bronze anode standoffs in here. There's one. And then at this point you almost have to start just holding the knife with your fingers to get it to get these things to play ball. Alright, now I'm going to change hands here. And now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to draw my little circle of oil around the inside of the liner. See if I can do that left-handed. No problem. And then clip the liner together. I lost my, yeah, I lost that one back, or that one standoff. This is how it goes, putting a knife together. They're always a little bit of a challenge. Everything wants to fall apart, everyone wants to stay in. It's like trying to keep frogs in a box. Alright, see if I can do it this way. This isn't the best angle for you guys probably, but I gotta get this in here, so I will do it. Okay, there we go. Alright, so you want to make this, and it's gonna kind of, you gotta make sure that this stop pin fits into its hole. Like right now it's not, and you can see how I've got that space between the blade and the liner. That's no good. So I got to make sure that I got to get that stop in. There we go. And it kind of, once it kind of gets in, it all kind of snaps into place. And now you actually have some structural integrity to the actual frame of the knife, and it's pretty decent. You still got to be careful; these will fall out pretty easily. But now we're going to take our scale, slip our scale back on. Again, I'm just going to hold the bottom to hold those in. Now I'm going to grab my screws here, frame screws, and don't tighten them down, don't crank them down, just get them in there so they get some bite. You don't need them tight yet. As a matter of fact, you don't even want them tight yet. You just want them basically holding the bottom of those barrels on so you can quit having to worry about holding those with your fingers. So this will turn, and then the actual knife itself will stay together pretty well now. Alright, next thing I do now, there we go, is I take it and I eyeball the back of the scale against the frame, and I make sure that it's lined up right, because this will fit, you know, while it's loose you can move it around just a little bit, and it can be a little proud or a little recessed, you know, a little proud this way or a little recessed that way, excuse me, against the liner. So I just do this, find exactly where I want it, get it set. Might be a little high for you there, okay. Alright, once I'm happy, there we go. Pretty good. Now just give it a good pinch. Now I go ahead and just crank these down a little bit to give them some bite so it holds that. I'm probably going to loosen these up again anyway, but that way it'll hold that, that G10 in place. Alright, now we've essentially got the knife back together. Just got to put the pivot in. Normally this is a pretty straightforward process, the pivot screw, but because it's all Loctited in there, this may be a bit of a go around, so we'll see how this works. Alright, and this is the reason I'm kind of walking through this whole process, is this is the first step. Where'd my super penny tool go here? This is the first step in kind of getting these things to flip better, I think, is to get them lubed up better. I think they come a little, you know, dry or whatever you want to call it from the factory. I like to go ahead and get them, get some good action on them. That helps a lot. Also, another thing is they definitely come, although this one was actually pretty decent. The last couple new ones that I've gotten. And if you remember that slicer that I had for a while that I sold recently, that one was really pretty decent from the factory too. Another one that I had brand new was pretty tight from the factory. So I mean, but they're all tighter than they needed to be. So you end up kind of backing this screw tension off to find kind of what I call the Hinderer sweet spot. It seems like every Hinderer has a sweet spot, and sometimes it may take a couple of disassemblies, putting it back together to kind of find that spot where, oh yeah, that's where that knife likes to be. Once you do, then it'll really just be a sweetheart for you. And I think that some of the reason, sharing that pieces of that penny off, looks like I'm going to need a better tool when they're this tight. One of the reasons that some people think that Hinderers just don't flip that well is because I don't think that their action is set right. Now I don't think the pivot is set well. People don't have them lubed up right, or they've got them too tight. But again, if you play this kind of this game of and I'm going to do this. Just now that I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and close my knife, make it a little easier on me there. And, if you kind of play this game of finding the sweet spot of the Hinderer, you will find that it's going to probably be a much smoother knife and a better action and a better flipper and everything. I'm probably going to come back off camera here just so I can get this up against my chest so I can get this done. Otherwise it's going to take me forever to try to slowly put that back together like it did taking it apart. Yeah, they have definitely put some stuff in this one. You didn't want this pivot coming out. I'll give them that. And this actually makes the entire final adjustment of the knife much more challenging, because if this pivot is all gummed up, the pivot screw is all gummed up with Loctite, you're kind of playing around and finding your sweet spot's not going to be quite as straightforward as it would be if you could tighten and loosen this in a much more readily, easily done fashion. But that's just the way it is. Again, that's why, when the first time you take a knife apart, it's probably not best to do it on YouTube. I could have showed you this in a 5-minute video on my 3rd gen there. I've got 10 minutes here of staring at the empty space here for you guys while I pull this thing off screen and try to fight this dang Loctite. But like I said, that's just the nature of the beast. Alright, where are we at here? Still not quite there. Man, kill me with this Loctite, guys. Yeah, there's a lot of it too, and it's actually coming out the back side of the spanner here. Because they've got so much in here, it's just screwing it down in here. I'm also going to show you, I presume when I get this all back together now, that it's going to be, that the centering will be all jacked up and it won't be right. So I'll show you the trick for centering a Hinderer when it's not. There's a method to that, and it actually I found that it works in Strider too, because my Strider, when I took my Strider apart the other day and put it back together, it was not centered. So, alright, this should be pretty tight now. Oh brother, is it? That is a tight one. Okay, it's pretty tight, and you can see, if you look close, that it's centered. Let me see, not centered, it's actually favoring the G10 side pretty significantly. So, how we're going to get around that problem is, you put it up to about a 45-degree angle, the blade, and then you're going to tighten down your frame screws good and tight. Make sure they're good and tight. Okay, I have more pain than it should have been. And then I'm going to make sure I got this pivot good and tight too. And that is going to require me to set in the spanner again. Again, this is a lot easier if this pivot is just not really all messed up. Not messed up, I mean all Loctite it up. Set this really tight. Okay, that's really tight. Now it's very difficult to push down now, and that's good. Now I want it to come away from this side and go to this side. So what I do, actually, take it back and pull it back up here. I want to loosen these, not tighten them. What was I thinking? That was dumb. Just the opposite, of course. All right. There we go. Sorry. I want to loosen those. I got this real tight. I put this down. I'm going to pull this to the side that I want to go to. If it would have been favoring this side, I'd push it to that side. But since it was favoring this side, I'm going to pull it to this side. Now I'm going to retighten. While I'm continuing to apply pressure, towards the lock side to the blade. Now when it's gone back together, it's slightly favoring this side, which is good because now I'm going to loosen the pivot because I've got that pivot just cranked down. When I loosen that pivot, it should bring it back more towards the center. And this can kind of be a trial and error kind of thing. You kind of play around with it. Works a little bit here, doesn't work a little bit there. You kind of find, again, that is the thing with Hinderers I've found, is that you definitely kind of have to give them a little bit of time. You got to kind of play with them a little bit and find where you want them to be. And you just crank this little guy down. It's a little bit too much. See, is that about right? It's actually still favoring the G10. I over cranked it there. So I'll tighten it up just a little bit, see where we're at when we get down here. Alright, that's about dead center right there. How's it action wise? Ooh, that's actually pretty nice. Wow. Yeah, no lock up, no lock rock, no nothing. Wow, that made a difference. Usually when I get all the oil and I get these back together, I'll kind of do this for about 100 passes, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to really loosen it up and really set all that oil in the pivot, let it roll around in there good and get everything happy. But I don't even need to do that with this. This one, despite acting like it was going to be difficult, giving me all those challenges, this thing is nice. Huh? How nice is that? Now watch this thing flip. And this took a little bit of effort to flip before. Butter. Oh man. Oh man. That might even be better than this one now. Pretty close. Look at that. People say Hinderers don't flip. Look at this. I'm hardly doing anything. And that's popping open. I'm telling you guys, Hinderers flip fine. But they do take a little care to get everything set up, find their sweet spot. When you do that, you're set. Now, just a real quick tutorial again on the actual flipping part of it, the actual part of flipping a Hinderer. I'm going to walk around the bar so that I actually can do this facing the camera with my right hand better. Hey, I'm back. Let me move everything over to this side. Oh, geez. Bert took a dump there. All right. Get my cap back on my oil so that's not leaking all over the place. Man, this is good stuff, guys. Really like this stuff. Okay, so here it is. And Prana 120, this is especially for you. I know you've watched my other video on how to do this, but I watched that little clip you sent me, and it looked to me like you were kind of being, even when you were trying to push down at a 45 into this, you were kind of trying to be tip of your finger doing it, and that's tougher to do, especially if you haven't gone through what I just did with this and kind of getting it set up really good. What I like to do is, and this will work good on a knife that's stiffer especially, is that when you get, I kind of do this, and when I get this set, I'm not thinking about the front of my finger, I'm actually thinking about pushing with the root of this knuckle. So the root of that knuckle is really where I'm applying the force, and then I'm going to pop that root of that knuckle back. I'm not trying to do it with my fingertip. Doing it with the fingertip is much more difficult. Now, honestly guys, I've got this one set so nice that I can just pull flip this watch. Not a problem. I mean, this has just landed beautifully. This one just came out way better than I thought, especially considering how difficult that dang pivot was. But it is just absolutely perfection right now. But if this was harder, like I was when I first started, think about using the root of that index finger there. Apply that pressure down, and at this angle, at that 45-degree angle down into that. Then when you pop this back out, I don't want to take the deer out, I don't want to take bird out, I don't want to hit anything here with the tip of my blade. And you snap that back. I mean, then it comes out with, I mean, that's some serious authority. And no lock stick. Look at the early lockup on that. If you guys can see that, I hope this has been in focus. If this whole video has not been in focus, I'm going to be bummed, because this really came out well as far as the knife setup. I was afraid it wouldn't. But anyway, yeah. So you just apply that pressure and do it with this first knuckle. Don't do it with the fingertip. With this first knuckle, push it down at a 45-degree angle like this, and then just snap back. I mean, it takes very little actually when the knife is set. Oops, that was me. Actually, might have a little oil on my thumb there, or my finger kind of slid. So just do that and just pop that back, and you can hear that this thing is coming out with authority. This is not a weak deploy. I can do the push on this already. I can tell. Even that works. This pivot has gotten set just right. I mean, this knife is perfection now. It is every bit as good as this one. Yeah, every bit as good. And this was always the most amazing flipper of these I've had. So wow, now I've got two amazing flippers. And speaking of that, just to kind of cover this process here, you're looking at all my Hinderers. I know I've had a lot of others in front of the camera. I've sold them. I traded for that Strider. I've done some different things. I'm down to just these three. And these are the three I'm just going to keep. I've kind of got this habit of going crazy, and if I like something, I want to buy more of it. And if one's good, two's great. If two's good, great. Three's fantastic, and if three's fantastic, 4, 5, 6 must be just unbelievably great. And I got to kind of knock that off. So I'm trimming that back down. I got down to basically this. I wanted to have this guy, like I said, this 3rd gen, which is just an amazing flipper. And the 3rd generations have a little bit of a different feel to them than the 4th generations. I know you probably can't tell that on camera, but there are some subtle differences other than just the stop pin. And this knife is just beautiful. I just love this knife. So I wanted to keep a 3rd gen, but I also wanted to get a 4th gen. And I know the logos are a little controversial, but I like them. So I wanted to get a logoed knife, and I wanted to get another one in S35. Kind of missed my S35. So wow, dang, that came out nice. Wow, really happy with that. All right, guys, there it is. There's how you set a Hinderer up. Take it apart, clean it up good, lube it up good, put it back together, set your pivot right, get your centering done, play around with it, find the sweet spot. I'm telling you, I've never had a Hinderer. This is my 9th one. I've not had a Hinderer yet that, given some time and some play, I couldn't find its sweet spot, and then it was just fabulous. So they just take a little time. That's all. All right, guys, that's 1 all 2 cents. Thanks for putting up with this and watching this long video. Keep the change. Sláinte.